then why this recommendation is made then.
57.
So it's already there.
It's there.
It's answered.
Yes.
Yeah, it's answered.
Very well. Okay, so we just dealt with 57 because that one we accepted. That was easy. Um, and then 61, 62, 63, 64, 65 will go. Then we go to the second schedule. Yes.
Chairman,
Did we agree on 60?
60.
60. Integrity
there were-
Commission
there was-
regulation ought to have been blah blah. Go ahead. 60.
60, the Integrity Commission says, Section 60, subsection 1, provides that the commission may make regulations subject to affirmative resolution in both houses of parliament. It is the considered view of the commission that regulations ought to have been prepared before the act came into operation. The commission is of the view that these regulations should be made subject to negative rather than affirmative resolution. The process by way of negative resolution will take a shorter period for them to be passed in Parliament. That's not true.
Yeah.
It's the same process. It's just,
Okay. We move on.
yeah.
And what regulations would they want?
No, it's all right.
That's it.
Okay.
We currently don't have regulations at the moment. Right.
So you have 63.
So 63.
As one, Mr. Warmington says, recommended is being proposed
Hold on,
to
Chair. Did you
delete
jump
sections.
over? Did you jump over? Oh, this is just the transitional provisions. Vesting of property.
Savings of action
Sorry.
and investigation.
Right. So
What does that
63.
provision say? What does it say in the act?
Savings of action and investigate. It's a savings clause for the work that would have been going on before the Integrity Commission was formed. So the investigations and the actions being taken by the Contractor General and the Corruption
You
Prevention
mean
Commission
activities prior to 2017?
prior to 2017, yes, Chair.
Yeah, well, I agree.
So
That section should be
63
deleted,
says, there's only one comment, and
That it should be
Member
deleted.
Warmington, that it should be deleted.
Yes.
No, not all of it. 63(2), which reads, the commission established under this act may commence or assume any investigation, swear any information, or commence any or conduct any prosecution in respect of an offense committed or alleged to be committed before the appointed day, meaning of this act, under a provision of either of the amended acts that has been amended or repealed by this act, or under the repealed act, and each such amended or repealed provision, and the repealed act shall be deemed to remain in full force and effect for the purposes of any such investigation, information, and prosecution as it had been immediately before the appointed day. That's the, and B says, or the commission established under this act may continue or do any acting or investigation which was pending before the appointed day.
Yes.
What I'm saying here is that 63(2) asks it to be deleted as spent by passage of time, which is over 8 years. This was in place to allow them to look at issues before the establishment of the act. And if there are issues that you haven't found in 8 years, I don't see the relevance of it now. So I'm saying in the passage of time, this issue of going back 8 years doesn't make sense. It has outlived its usefulness, and I ask for it to be deleted.
Comments, members? Comments, members? Okay, accepted.
No.
Well, we haven't had any negative position on it, or
I don't have any difficulty with that rationale, Chair. I would want to know from the Integrity Commission if there are matters still lingering from pre-2017. And then I have a,
Did you just get a new phone?
Yup, but with Paradise Mobile, I can get a new phone every year.
Everyone offers that.
Nope, only Paradise upgrades you every.
bring the answer at the moment.
It's
Would not affect any investigation ongoing at this time, you know. If they have investigation going by that time, but I'm saying after 7 years, after 8 years, and you haven't found any issues, new issues, it does make sense because any new issues that are new, you would have had them dealt with or found them within the 8 years. So I'm saying by over time.
Yeah.
This issue, parts of time is spent.
Yeah, I don't have a difficulty with Member Warmington's proposal because remember too that this is referring to any matters for which it is the repealed act or the repealed provisions that would apply. It would not be this Integrity Commission Act. And so I would want to think, subject to the Integrity Commission saying anything different, that all those matters have been done and dusted.
SC?
So, thank you, Chair. There are two things that are addressed under 63. One is that they can continue to do any act or investigation which was pending. And I think the committee would need to ask the Integrity Commission if they have anything pending prior to the new act being brought into force. But there is another thing that is, and that's in A. It says that if there was an investigation already ongoing, or they could commence a new one, but if it was for a period before 2017, you have to use the old law. You wouldn't use this act. Right. So if you repeal this section, you're now going to be removing that provision. And in any case, that's a provision that's in the Interpretation Act. We actually didn't need to put it here because it's in the Interpretation Act. So even if you remove it from here, it's going to still operate because under the Interpretation Act, Section 25 deals with the effect of a repeal, and it allows for persons' rights, any right that you had prior, you still would maintain that right, as well as it says it wouldn't affect any investigation, legal proceedings, remedy, and any such investigation that is instituted, continued, or enforced would be done under the repeal.
Previous
Act.
act.
Right.
But SG, the investigation, I think what might, and I won't speak for you, Member Warmington, can correct me if I'm wrong, but the provision that allows the commission to commence an investigation I need to look at the Interpretation Act. I need to look at the Interpretation Act because is that into perpetuity? Does that mean that the Integrity Commission in 2040 could commence an investigation on something that happened in 2015? But that's I think what the concern is. How long? What's the lifespan of that provision in law? Chair, I'm looking at the time. Can we also push this to you for some review at the next meeting? Say again?
Sorry. Oh. Yes, but I'm saying this is basically saying what the Interpretation Act says. Normally, what would happen is over the passage of time, you wouldn't expect that you would have a lot of new matters. It is a power that is given under the Interpretation Act. And
I'm asking SG, is the power so vast that
Yes,
in
it's
2030, 2035, the Integrity Commission could commence an investigation on a matter that would have happened prior to this act coming into view? That's the question I was asking.
Right, but practically, I cannot see how that would happen because evidence would definitely, but they have that right.
Well,
I'm just saying,
that's the question I asked because I have heard members speaking about being asked in their statutory declaration for information about things that they had in accounts from the 70s and things like that. I have heard that. Um,
would not
It
fall.
doesn't.
But what I'm saying is, it would now fall under the process of the repealed act. So you wouldn't be using the process of the new act to deal with those matters, or they shouldn't. That's
Chairman,
different.
the SG mentioned the issue of opening new investigation. This does not prevent them from opening new investigation. I'm saying that this time it has spent its usefulness. Why would you, if in 8 years there are issues, then you didn't find it in 8 years? Why are you going to find it in 30 years? If you don't find it in 8, it means after 8 years there's nothing. I'm saying this was put there to carry on investigation that the other bodies were doing. So after 8 years, it doesn't serve a purpose now. So you cannot have it going on in perpetuity. So I'm saying it doesn't serve a purpose. You delete it. It also serve its usefulness.
Okay, I'm seeing here a slight difference in terms of the views on this side and that of the SC. No?
no, it's no, it's not.
No, okay.
Chairman,
So
I think what SG
so
is saying
we-
is it is the law.
it is the law.
It is the law.
So it shouldn't be.
Whether it's here or not, it's what
So
exists
it doesn't
in
matter
law.
where it is. So are we accepting to delete or are we saying it
No,
remains?
we can't because what will happen is if we delete, then we will cause those matters to come
Point
under
taken.
this new act instead
Point
of the
taken. I just
repealed
wanted
act.
that clarity. No. Okay, thanks.
But Chair, this is one of those questions too that I would wish to ask the Integrity Commission, whether or not there are matters still pending that they have not commenced the investigation that were matters carrying over from the last
From the last. Okay.
framework.
So we will send a note in that regard.
So just a quick point. If the committee is of the view, though, that they really don't want this to apply, you would have to do more than just delete it from here. You would also have to say that Section 25 of the Interpretation Act will not apply.
Right, we understand. And I think that is why we concluded that we would leave this one alone.
No, we're not concluding that, Chair. I think we're asking for particulars from the Integrity Commission as to what is the reality.
But given the guidance we get, that this one is consequent on a number of other acts, which would then have to be repealed or.
No, I don't think that's what SG has said. SG has said that if we wish to remove it, we would have to put in a provision that says that the existing provision in the Interpretation Act does not apply because that provision exists, which provides for the same thing that this would provide for. So even if you delete this, you have to say Interpretation Act doesn't apply. But I have a difficulty and a caution with that, Chair, because I would not want us to be in a position where there are matters pending that the Integrity Commission is looking at or has not yet begun, and we are now putting in a provision to prevent them from investigating those matters. So I think it requires a request of the Integrity Commission to just provide us with some information. And I know Mr. Beresford has done that before, where he has sent us numbers of complaints and so on. He could so indicate to us if we would write to them.
Okay. If I then rule that a letter be sent to the IC to provide this information as is requested. And that will guide us in our next meeting so that we can in fact complete the matrix.
Yes, Chair.
I want to thank the members. Member Warmington, we are after
I
1
know,
o'clock.
I know that there are recommendations that I made that are not included in this. I'm going to write to the committee clerk.
Which,
I'm going to write to the committee clerk.
we're not finished, you know, remember?
You're asking for German, for example.
Yes, for today. But the,
Yeah,
the
that's
matrix
something I'm going to
is
write
still-
to them.
The matrix is incomplete.
No, so I'm going to write to them as to those recommendations I don't find in the matrix for the next meeting.
Oh, that are not in the matrix.
Yeah.
Okay, very well,
Yes,
very
yes.
well. Okay, members, any other business? There being no other business, this meeting is adjourned until Tuesday.
Every night, one person coming with me. Let me stop. You know what? Politics. I try to get it going. We have entered the silly season of Jamaica. Not Christmas. Where friends and neighbors is like we sang there. Oftentimes it's too bad. Being truly violent. We are hoping never to return to the violence. We are told, me personally, nobody can be popular that's it's like you saw what each other. Nobody in the country which works suck in political. Notwithstanding our position, those officials longing and clamoring for the return. Yes, members of the opposition. None were greater than the opposition. We wish to bring Jamaica back to those times. None greater than the opposition. In days of government corruption. I can sit here today and tell you that I support a government that is hell-bent ridding this country of corruption, corruptness. And there's a clear difference between actual corruption and perceived corruption. Yes, the presumption, something that is sold to you. There's a clear difference between the two. Now, the perception of corruption is something that has been sold to the Jamaican people over the last 4 years, 5 years. Actual corruption is what is happening now in the 5 municipalities is run by the People's National Party. Actual corruption is the General Secretary of the People's National Party being heard on a vice explaining how government money or taxpayers' money, there is no such thing as government money, taxpayers' money are being spent to shore up election. Actual corruption is the St. Catherine municipality paying Dons $1.1 million a month actual corruption is $400 million missing from the Manchester Parish Council. Actual corruption is $75 million missing from St. Mary Parish. And I could go on and on. 400 million from Westmoreland. The People's National Party has been in charge of its forces for less than a year. Less than 1 year. And by my rough calculation, some $10 billion is an account. Not an account, it has been stolen, missing, gone. These people have been on a mad cash grab since day one. Taxpayers, the money that belongs to the hardworking taxpayers has been issued out to part support in brown envelope. And I mean say it in a comer say brown envelope. Senior member of the KCC walk from Central Kingston and issue up brown envelope cash. Taxpayer money. Being issued 500 and 200 to each member of the People's National Party. Caretakers and members of parliament to use as they see fit. To be used as they see fit. And those are the terms that bothers me when it comes to taxpayers. To be used as you see fit. Now, the President Jamaica Party has been the only government I know that has completed an entire term without one single act of government, without one single minister being called up or anything. And yes, again, people are going to say, what happened to Marissa Darby? But in my opinion, it's a clerical error on her part. What with Michael Phillips also, failing to filing late is not corruption. When you file your document, then later after Integrity Commission have to file for act. Right? So filing your declaration is not the end all and head all that people make. It is just merely the height. And if I might call them very, use the word, tardy. That's all they have been. Right? So, the enviable record that is only one, the only government to have completed an entire term without any act of corruption. Right? An entire term was completed from 2020 until now. And we see where the persons who are actually involved in corruption are being given basically a free hand to move. See, people are actually doing it. We don't see the Integrity Commission putting the same yes, and investigating matters concerning the People's National Party that they do with matters that has the name Wellness attached to it. The Director of Investigation told us at last February. Sorry, last July. And July 10th, he received an investigation. By July 11th, he was already done by the cases, commencing that investigation. We've seen where immediately after something has happened with the government's name, not just the integrity committee, all the so-called civic group, me call them a bunch of them. And that's how them circle and wait for one caucus. Anything will look like a caucus. Come in. So they can swoop down. We've seen 3 weeks now, 4 weeks now. It started with Dennis Garden constructing a 4-story building without any approval. Not a word from them. It came down now to the post money scandal. Not a word from them. And as this one now deepened to where the leader of the opposition has been caught now, signed and sealed his part in the corruption, offering Senate appointments and board appointment and cash for people to walk away from sea. Right. That is it. Renzi. For people to walk away from sea. That is where you call actual corruption. But all of these groups are silent. Because my assumption is that it's okay for the PMP to be corrupt. They were allowed to be corrupt for 18.5 years under the watchful eyes of our media. They presided over 18.5 years of corruption. 18.5 years. They gained power in 1989. And by 1991, they had already had 3 major corruption scandals. By 1991, there were 3 major corruption scandals. Or should I say by 1990? By 1990, there were 3 major corruption scandals that cost taxpayers billions of dollars, that led to the closure of a local company. The first acts to fall in the PMP reign of terror when Hurricane PJ, Hurricane Micah, and Hurricane Omar, and Hurricane Mark. Very nice and green background, Patrice. And Hurricane Mark wreaked havoc on the Jamaican people. But that was done under the watchful eyes of Lindos Road and North Street. So them being quiet now in the height of all this corruption in the PMP. That is surprising to many, to very few. Most people know them for who they are. The civic group people are now seeing them for who they are. That they are not civic. They are just partisan people who sit down and find a way to collect money from the European Union. Yes, they find a way. The majority of these groups are funded by European Union. And they realize that, hey, unless we tell life on the government, European Union will cut off our funding. So they will always sit there and tell life. But what I like to do while I am here, let us compare and contrast and see if we can see where real corruption lies. Let's see if we can find out where the real corruption is. Jamaica Labour Party has been in office since 2016. 2016. 2016. 7 consecutive budgets of no new taxes. 7 of them. And with that, they have been able to achieve record public spending, record investment in health, record investment in national security, record investment in public sector salaries, record investment in education. All this without any new taxes on the Jamaican people. But when you compare that to a PNP government who spent 18 years in power, even if I should say the last 4 years, but I won't count the last 4 years. As in the last 4 years, they did implement $58 billion new tax on the back of the Jamaican. 58 billion. The Jamaica Labour Party since 2016 has done its best to roll back some of that. The Jamaica Labour Party has rolled back some of that. And they will continue to roll back some, including the reduction in GCT and your JPS that will come. But the PNP spent 18.5 years in power. They imposed new taxes for 16 years. Out of those 8, only 2 years they did not impose any new tax. But they did it for 16 years. They did 16 years of new taxes. Police stations were without vehicle. The public sector was under wage freeze. That is some member of the public sector, and it's not forget that the Prime Minister at the time gave himself a 101% increase, while the rest of the public sector was under wage freeze. So, no new vehicle, no new ambulance, no new fire truck. And that is from 16 years out of new and increased taxation. 16 years ago. There was a few times in those 18 years where private companies like Daniels and Geddes, Grace Kennedy, to name a few, had to step in to pay public sector salaries while they were busy implementing every single year. During those high tax periods in Jamaican history, if there was a road to be repaired, it requires a loan. If there was a pipe to be repaired, it requires a loan. Everything that was happening requires a loan. Yet it was one of the most heavily taxed periods in our history. I mean, to me, the corruption and who is corrupt is clear. Which party is the corrupt party is clear. It can't be the one that goes for 8 years, no new taxes, but purchase 300 bus for JUTC, complete 3 legs of the highway, have 4 hospitals under construction, repair 200 health centers, upgrade over 150 police stations, issue out nearly 400 well-built concrete structure to the less fortunate. Or you think it's the government, that is the party that is walking around in the Paris Council issuing out taxpayers' money in a brown envelope to people to do with as you feel like. With Jamaica is entering the most consequential election. Why do I put this one above 1972 and 1989? Why? because the people of Jamaica now have more information on which to make a choice. The Jamaican electorate is now more educated. They are now more informed. You know what you're voting for, you know what you're voting against. So this one is going to be the one of consequence. Where we decide if we want to go back to the high tax period, or we want to continue our way first. That is what's going to be in the debate. The next election is called. Do we want to go back to new tax every single budget? Do we want to go back to making Mark Golding and his cronies rich again? Do we want to continue whereby when the government decides to divest any public entity, they do so to the people of Jamaica? That is what's going to be. Do we continue to build generational wealth? Do we go back to the budget debate being the most nervous, mind-bending time in this country? People sit down and fret when business people used to start hiding them assets. That is what budget time was under the people. Now, let me see if I can find. There was, I think, came out yesterday where they were advertising the budget debate that is coming up. Upcoming budget debate. We're favored with opening our first presentation. Where I am encouraging persons to make sure they save the date. Because now it is that it is now more important than ever. We pay attention to our budget presentation. That's where we learn, that's where we understand what the country is doing, that's where we understand what's happening. That's how we decide. I'm trying to find that poster so I can share it with you. So you can look at it, mark the date, and get ready. I know it's here, so here we go. Here we go. Right, so we now have to put it up so you guys can see. Windows, here we go. Yes. So there you go. The budget debate will be open on March 11th. The Finance and Planning Minister, Dave Williams, first female finance minister. And we know, say, there's one thing we know as man, the woman, them good with the purse string. But some of them, good with the purse string. So, market date, get ready to watch. It's going to be an interesting one. It will not be a run with it. It will be one that will continue Jamaica on the path to real growth, real prosperity. Foundation has already been laid. It's just the mindset of the people to join us in the journey to absolute prosperity. Join us, my people. We are gonna be there. Make sure you come join.